Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at the biggest culture shocks between the UK and the USA. So if you're British and moving to the US, or vice versa, make sure to watch this video so you can prepare for some big changes. Let's get into it. Alright, so the first one is food portions. So in America, food portions are just massive. And I think this is because America is such a huge country, and there's so much space and everything is kind of like supersized. Whereas in the UK we have smaller portions. We tend to order starters and mains, but in America they just bring out one plate with lots of food on it. And what feels like a large meal in Britain is often just a regular portion in the States. So I remember the first time going to America and being very confused when I saw these massive portions. But I guess it makes sense because American cars are bigger, their roads are bigger, everything's bigger. So of course their portions are going to be bigger too. The next one is driving. So in America, people drive on the right side of the road, whereas in Britain, we drive on the left side of the road. Even the steering wheel on the car is on the opposite side. And the first time getting into a car in America, I was very confused as to why the steering wheel was on the right side of the car. And obviously, that takes some getting used to. And in Britain, we don't really have highways like they do in America. Our roads are normally just one lane going each way. And also in America, they drive on freeways, whereas in the UK, we have motorways. And of course, the speed limits are much higher in America than they are in Britain. The next one is healthcare. So in the UK, we have the National Health Service, which means that everyone is entitled to free healthcare. However, in America, it's a bit different. Most people have private health insurance through their employer, or they pay for it themselves. And if you don't have health insurance, then you have to pay for everything out of pocket. And I know a lot of people in the UK are very surprised to hear that in America, a trip to the emergency room can cost thousands of dollars. The fourth one is language. So even though both countries speak English, there are so many differences. Like in the UK, we say chips, but in America, they say crisps. And in the UK, we say biscuits, but in America, they say cookies. And it can get very confusing, especially if you're moving to the other country and you're not quite familiar with all of the lingo. So I remember the first time going to America and wanting a biscuit, but having no idea that they were called cookies instead. And I ended up just with a chocolate chip cookie instead of a nice little digestive. Another big culture shock between the UK and the US is tipping. So in the US, tipping is expected almost everywhere, whether you've been to a restaurant, a cafe, a barber shop, a nail salon, even for a taxi. You're expected to tip. Whereas in the UK, tipping does exist, but it's a bit more relaxed and it's not as common. And in fact, in the UK, we often leave tips for bigger royal landmarks. So the first time moving to America, and being in a restaurant and being asked if I wanted to leave a tip, I had no idea what to do. I felt very uncomfortable, but now I'm a bit more accustomed to it. So those are the biggest culture shocks between the UK and